יעוזו, הללו, בגבורותיו, הללו, כרוב כולו. הללויה, 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 הללויה. הללו, בצק ושובה, הללו, בנר ובחינות, הללו, בטוב ומחוק, הללו, במיד ונרגע. הללויה, 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 הללויה. הללו, בצלצלי שמה, הללו, בצלצלי תשועה, כל הנשמה תהלליה, כל הנשמה תהלליה. הללויה, 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 הללויה.
You guys got picks, or you guys want to hear them?
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Good evening and welcome to a Sababa Shabbat. Woohoo!
Yeah!
What is a Sababa Shabbat? A Sababa Shabbat is the opportunity for you all to be introduced to our incredible house band created by cantor Jackie Raffi. And carried forward by this amazing group of people, thanks to Bruce, who's taken it under his wing to make sure this is a monthly happening. So we also have some U.S. Wires here this evening as part of our Sababa band, because we are working hard to get our teens involved in music in the congregation. So if you are any teens who play a musical instrument and would like to be involved, please let who know? Let Bruce on the drums know. We are going to begin this evening with, what are we going to begin this evening with?
Bina's Nigun.
Bina's Nigun. All right, Bina's Nigun. You don't have it in your Siddur, but basically it is a warm-up melody. It's a melody without words. A Nigun, it's called, a melody without words. So sit back, enjoy, and try to bring yourself into this holy, special place as we enter into Shabbat.
Ya la 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 la, ya ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya ya la ya la, ya ya la 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 ya la, ya ya la 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 ya la, ya ya la 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 la, ya ya la ya la, ya la 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 ya la, ya la ya la ya la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la ya la, ya la 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 la.
The purpose of a nigun is to remind us that even if we don't know the words of a prayer, there is still a way in which we can participate. So even through our service, if you know the words, join us If you know the melody, even more so join us. If you don't know the words, but you can pick up on the melody, hum along. If you don't want to hum and you don't want to sing, well, hopefully at least the spirit of our tefillot, our music will move you. We turn to page 11 as we begin our Kabbalat Shabbat service, the beautiful melody written by Cantor Raffi, sung by Chazan Joel Smith, and our incredible Sababa band.
Moram to'ele vavheim vehem lo yadu derachai asher nishbati ve'api im yavon el menuchati.
We turn to our next psalm, which begins on 13. We're going to pick up on the bottom of page 14, just 2 lines below the little arrow with the words Ya'aloz, Sadai, V'chol Asher Bo.
Ya'aloz Sadai V'chol asher bo Ya'aloz Sadai Ay 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 Ya'aloz Sadai V'chol asher bo Ya'aloz Sadai Ay 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 Yishpot tevel betzedek v'amim be'amunato.
Continuing on page 15, our third psalm of the evening.
Adonai malach tageh ha'aretz imra.
Words are real outside you guys.
Pick on page 16 on the bottom. La Tzadi, for Yishlev Simcha, for Zarua. Simchu Tzadik Kekocho.
Continuing on page 17. Top of page 18, 3 lines down. Zamru Ladonai Bechinor.
Zamruya, 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 Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz shishpotei vehel betzedek amim b'meisharim.
For our next psalm, we pick up the bottom of page 20, 3 lines from the bottom, Romimu.
Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishachanu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishachanu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yisachanu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yisachanu lehar kodsho.
We rise, page 21, Mizmor LeDavid.
Mizmor LeDavid, Havul Adonai b'nei Elim, Havul Adonai, Kavod v'oz, Havul Adonai v'evod shemo Havul Adonai Kadrat Kodesh, Kol Adonai Alamayim El Avod Iri, Adonai Alamayim Rabim, Kol Adonai Bakoach, Kol Adonai be'adar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vayshaber Adonai et arzei Lebanon, Vayargidem kamo egel Lebanon, Vesiryo Kemo ben Reimi, Kol Adonai chotev lahamoresh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yachol el yalot, Vayecheso
seated. I'm going to take a moment for Chazan Smith to switch his microphones to one that is hopefully working better than the wireless mic. And we are going to turn to page 23 as we welcome our Shabbat bride with the singing of Lecha Dodi. A reminder that the last verse that we get to on page 25, we're going to rise for that last verse, face the entrance of the ark of the congregation, imagining that we are welcoming the Shabbat bride in all her beauty and glory to help us bring the peace and sanctity of Shabbat into our lives. Page 23, Lecha Dodi.
Shabbat le'uvanecha kihi mekor haberacha merosh mikedem nesucha tov ma'aseh b'machshavat techila v'chadodi v'kala v'shabbat v'kavela v'chadodi v'kala
מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, טוב מצאי מתוך ההפכה, רב לשבת בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי Kitnari me'afar kumi Niteving dipei Tifartei chami Hayad ben Yishai Beit halachmi Parvai el nafshi Ge'ala Lecha dodi Likrat kala Pnei Shabbat Nekabela Lecha dodi Likrat kala Hitoreri, kiva ore, kumi ori, uri shedaberi, kivod Adonai alai nigla. Lecha dodi, kakala, pnei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha dodi, kakala, pnei Shabbat, nekabela.
לא תבושי ולא תקלמי, ותשתוכחי ומתהמי, בך יחצו עניי עמי, ונבנתה עיר על תלה.
Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. V'hayom shisa shosayich v'rachaku komev alayich yasis alayich Elohayich kimtzos chatan al kala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela.
תפרוצי ואת אדוני תריצי היה האיש בן פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה
והדודי לכלכלה ולשבת לקבלה והדודי לכלכלה ולשבת לקבלה
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לך דודי לכלה ונשבת לקבלה דודי לכלה ונשבת לקבלה.
You may be seated. Turning to page 27, our psalm for Shabbat, Mizmor Shir Le'Yom HaShabbat.
שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמחה עליון, ולזמר לשמחה עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמחה עליון, ולזמר לשמחה דשנים ורעניים יהיו להקיק ישר אדוני צורי ולא עוולה תבוא.
Page 29, Adonai Malach Le'Lev Mikalo Mayim Rabbi Madarim Mishmerei Beitcha Nova Kodesh Adonai
מקולות מים רבים אדירים משבריה מקולות מים רבים אדירים משבריה אדיר במרום אדוני אדיר במרום אדוני אדיר במרום אדוני אדיר במרום נא בקודש אדוני לאורך ימים.
Mourners and those observing Yortzeit, we invite you to rise for Kaddish Yatom, Mourners Kaddish on page 30. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach yutei ve'amlich malchutei. B'chayachon u'b'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha b'richu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav Huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. You can have a seat.
Oh, we're having a sermon.
So this week begins one of the next 6 weeks of something called American Zionist Shabbat. I don't know how many of you have heard of that. An organization, I think WZO, the World Zionist Organization, began it a number of years ago, and its purpose is to connect Jews all over the world to the state of Israel, our homeland, and to try to remind us of the important relationship that we certainly as American Jews have with the state of Israel. They chose Parshat Lech Lecha as a beginning because it is tomorrow morning when we read it in the Torah that God commands Abraham, or sends Abraham from his own home to the land of Canaan as the father of the nation, and also the one who is going to, as the Jewish people, inherit the land of Israel. So by way of this American Zionist Shabbat, I want to share with you 2 stories that I learned from Rabbi David Golinkin, who is the president of the Schechter Institute in Israel and has chaired the law committee for the last 20 years for the Rabbinical Assembly. I'm going to take this off so it's a little easier for you to hear me. So here's the 2 stories that he shares. The first, and these are both, this first one happened to him some years ago when he was at Ben Gurion Airport. He stepped up to the checkout counter, or the check-in counter, and a young woman behind the counter saw an identification tag that called him a professor. She asked a professor of what? He told her he was a professor of Talmud. And she replied, "What is Talmud?" He answered, and of course he had been spending the last decades of his life studying, teaching, learning, expounding on Talmud, and it came as a little bit of a surprise that this young Israeli woman had no idea what the Talmud was. So he says to her, "It's a work of 20 volumes and contains laws and legends and customs." She then asked, "How different is it than the New Testament?" And he explained that it was quite different than the New Testament, but she wasn't satisfied. So she said, "Isn't the Talmud written in the biblical period?" To which he responded, "No, actually, it was written 1,000 years later." He then asked her if she had, when she was in school in Israel, learned anything about the oral law, which is what the Talmud is, or in a sense, any of rabbinic Judaism. And her answer was, "We learned it, but it wasn't serious. Who remembers? Who needs it?" The second story he shares has to do with the International Bible Quiz, which takes place in Israel on Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel Independence Day. For many, many years, actually, Cantor Avram Schwartz of blessed memory, the Cantor Emeritus of this congregation, was a dedicated teacher of students for the Bible contest for many years. And actually such an outstanding teacher that many of our students not only won nationally, but went to Israel to participate internationally in the Bible contest. So the quiz, this international biblical contest, was founded in 1964. And for years, both secular and religious Jews from all over the world participated in it. But over the years, secular teenagers have disappeared, and it's primarily become a Bible quiz for religious youngsters alone. And then 3 years ago, out of the blue, a secular teenager won the Bible quiz with a headline in all of the Israeli newspapers stating, "For the first time in 30 years, the winner of the Bible quiz is a secular Jew." To which Rabbi Galinkin responded, "How could it be that the Bible, the book of the people of the book, has turned into a book for religious people only?" So, one story, a woman who knows nothing about rabbinic Judaism in Israel, and another, unfortunately, a Bible contest that has primarily been engaged by one small segment of the Jewish world. So tomorrow morning, as I said, we read from Parshat Lech Lecha, which begins with the famous verse, right? God says to Abraham, "Lech Lecha, go forth from your land, from your father's home, from the place that you were born, to a place that I will show you." But this is not the only time Lech Lecha is used in the Torah. There's one other time that Lech Lecha is used, and that's when God commands Abraham to take his son, his only son, the one that he loves, Isaac, and send him up to Mount Moriah to be offered as a sacrifice. The Midrash, noticing the unusual circumstances of only 2 times Lech Lecha is used, asks the question, which Lech Lecha is better? Which Lech Lecha is more important? The one of Abraham being told to go to the land of Israel, or the one where Abraham is told to take his son and go up to Mount Moriah? Well, to understand that question, we first have to understand what is the definition of Mount Moriah. Moriah means, it says, that it comes from a few different possible Hebrew words. One is hora'ah, like Torah, which means to teach, to decide matters of legal nature, law. Another says it comes from the word yirah, which means to fear God. And a third comes from or, which is light of God. So whether it means Torah, fear of God, or light of God, Mount Moriah, according to the Midrash, represents God, Judaism, and learning. In the Midrash, when the rabbi is asked which Lech Lecha is more important, which Lech Lecha do you think he responds to? Do you think he says the Lech Lecha of Abraham going to the land of Israel is more important, better, or the Lech Lecha of Abraham being commanded to go to Mount Moriah is better? What do you think? Yes, he says, the rabbi of the Midrash says that the Lech Lecha of Mount Moriah is a better Lech Lecha than the one of our Torah portion, the one of Israel. Now, perhaps he says this because at the time that he writes this Midrash, he's living in the diaspora, and Jews are no longer dwelling in the land of Israel. There is no national country for the Jewish people, and he can't imagine in his lifetime or any Jewish lifetime that the Jews would return to the land of Israel. And it's something, of course, that doesn't happen for 1,500 years after this Midrash is written. But I ask you that question, which Lech Lecha is better? Is it the Lech Lecha of going to Israel, the Lech Lecha of Zionism, or is it the Lech Lecha of Mount Moriah? Or is that an unfair question to ask? Because in reality, to be a Jew, whether living here in America or living in Israel, we need both. We need the land of Israel. How many of you have been to Israel? I won't say how many of you have not been to Israel, because I don't want you to raise your hand. Because I will say, how many of you have not been to Israel yet? Israel is essential, and we are living in a remarkable period of time where our ancestors could never have imagined that Jews would return and be sovereign in our holy land. And yet we're living in with a state of Israel where a good portion of the population doesn't even believe in Zionism. Right? There are the Haredi Jews who only focus on Judaism. And then there are so many Jews outside the land of Israel that don't focus on Israel at all and only focus on Judaism or God. And so what I think the Midrash is really challenging us today is how do we live with both? How do we, as Jews, live with a relationship to the land of Israel, the first Lech Lecha of Abraham, whether we physically live in Israel or somehow keep Israel in our hearts, in our minds, and in our souls, and how do we live with the Lech Lecha of Mount Moriah, a relationship to God, Torah, and Judaism. Rabbi Golinkin states, a Zionism without Judaism is only half the story. Judaism without Zionism is also only half the story. We must teach our children and ourselves both the Lech Lecha of Zionism and the Lech Lecha of Judaism, so that in the near future, every Jewish child, teenager, and adult, both here and in Israel, will feel a connection to both Lech Lechas, the Lech Lecha of Zionism and the Lech Lecha of Judaism. May it be so in our day. Shabbat Shalom. So we now continue with our service as we turn to page 39 and rise for the Baruch Hu.
Ya ya da 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 ya da da ya da ya da 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 ya ya da 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 ya ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da da da
Seated. Baruch atah Adonai.
ומעבר יום ובין לילה, ובדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים.
We continue silently the next paragraph on page 40, Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael. כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו
ואהבתך תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל.
Join together for the Shema, page 41.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך לך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
We continue silently, page 42. V'hayayim shemot yishmat Hashem v'pertzonech.
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמן.
Page 43, Amunah. Join us on page 44, the top of the page, Micha Mocha.
Ya 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 da da ya da da
Prayer for Peace, page 45, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom V'hamidenu Malkeinu L'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom V'hamidenu Sukkot Shalom Echa Baruch Ata Adonai Aporei Sukkot Shalom Aleinu V'Yakol Amo Yisrael Ve'al Yerushalayim.
Amen. We rise, V'Shamru, page 46.
V'Shamru B'nei Yisrael Et HaShabbat Asot Et HaShabbat ביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות עולם. יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה, ביום הדברה קירותי ביום נקמחותי, בחיי כל יום בכל וחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולם מעלמיה. יתברך יתברך וישתבח, יתבר יתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה. שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה. תושבתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ויאמרו
A few moments of silent prayer. The Amidah begins on page 47 and concludes on page 52. The Hebrew, the English are your own thoughts. As you finish the Amidah, we turn to page 54 for Kaddish Shalem.
יתגלח גלש מרבה, יעלמה דברה קירותי ביום נקמחותי, בחיי חונב יום חונב חיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולם מעלמיה. יתברך 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 ויעלם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ותלך ותלה, שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלתנו ועתנו לכל ישראל, כל דם בהונדי בשמיא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום רב משמיא וחיים עלינו לכל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ולכל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Kazan Smith leads us in Kiddush on page 55.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagofel. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitsham mitzvotav v'ratzavan. Shabbat kodesh v'yahavav ratzon inchilanu, zikaron ha'maaseh bereshit. Ihu yom techila lemikrai kodesh, zecher yetziat Mitzrayim. Ki banu b'chata, yotanu kidasha, mikol
Standing for Aleinu on 56.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, laten gedula yotzeh breshit, shelo zanu kegoyam ratzon, velo zamanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo zam chelkeinu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu koreim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamelachim hakadosh baruch hu. Okay, נקבל לך. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. היום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד,
You may be seated. At this time, we remember those whose yard sites are this week, the 10th to the 16th of Cheshvan: Victor Aberman, David Becker, Joyce Bresick, Maureen H., Ingrid Edwards, Morris Ellis, Judith Ehrlich, Jacob Gold, Jerome Goldberg, Dorothy Gordon, Sidney Gordon, Patricia Harmatz, Sheila Hartman, Gertrude Haas, Harry Kaufman, Gloria Klein, Herman Klinger, Barbara Langberg, Edward Lieberman, Sarah Magenman, Michael Marco, Sally Mellon, Sheldon, Michelle, Meyer Mikhail, Sabina Moore, Sanford Nathan, Ronaldo Rosa, Sarah Shore, Jacob Spillman, Harry Stone, Rachel Strugo, Murray Wagreich, Jesse Weinstein, Ellie Welt, Miriam Zimmer. Those in mourning and those observing yard site, we invite you to rise for the Mourner's Kaddish, page 58. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach yurtei ve'amlich malchutei. B'chayachon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'v'zman kariv imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kedusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen.
Amen.
May the one who creates peace in the heavens bring peace to each and every one of us as we say Amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. A few quick announcements. Number one is if you are a teen, ages, grades, what is it, 7th grade to 12th grade Shabbat Club? Tonight? 7th grade to 12th grade, if you would like to join for Shabbat Club tonight at the Ho Vishager residence, please see the Hoer Vishager family. If you are a grandparent and have a grandchild nearby, there is a Grandparent and Me Shabbat is Coming class beginning on Wednesday, November 3rd at 10 a.m. It's going to be held outside, weather permitting. Our next musical Shabbat with our Sababa Sounds Band and Chazan Josh Goldberg will be taking place on Friday, November 5th at 6 p.m. So between now and November 5th, services on Friday evenings will be on Zoom or live streamed. But the next in-person Friday evening Shabbat service will be November 5th. Don't forget November 7th is our Community Mitzvah Day, beginning at 9:30. Projects for young and old alike, and lots of things that we're collecting. Please note in our newsletter, our e-news, and on our website what that is. This coming Monday, October 18th at 6:30 p.m., a men's group, a group of guys who come together for food, drink, and a little bit of learning and schmoozing together, ages 35 to 59. That is taking place this coming Monday at 6:30 here at the synagogue. Please just call the office Monday so that Connie can order enough food. And finally, on November 1st, I know this is completely out of order, these announcements, I'm sorry, a course of spiritual growth through mindfulness practice, storytelling, movies, and Jewish teachings taught by the wonderful educator and movie maker Valerie Edwards. That's from 7 to 9 p.m. More information on that and all sorts of other amazing programs that we are offering. Just read your e-news or go onto our website. And now we conclude with Oseh Shalom, our prayer for peace.
Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, le'al kol Yisrael, le'al kol yoshei tevel, ve'imru.
I did not mention the incredible, wonderful Sababa Sounds Band. Who are they? We have Isaac, Jeremy, Kevin, Bruce, John, Jesse, on our instruments, and Ofer, Mariana, and Kevin leading the service along with Chazan Smith. A Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Tomorrow morning our services begin. It's our last service to begin at 10 o'clock. And then after tomorrow morning, all our services will begin at 9:30 a.m. So tomorrow morning 10, and in the future 9:30. Until there may be a change, because who knows what the world has in store for any of us. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Thank you, Ofer. Thank you, Hassan.